It's Friday, so it's Free Speech Friday. We get two free-thinking, free-talking New Zealanders together. We talk about the events of the week. This is brought to you by the Free Speech Union, fsu.nz, the champions of free speech in New Zealand. With us this morning, former National Cabinet Minister, Auckland Councillor Maurice Williamson. How are you, mate?
Good morning, Sean.
Good morning to you. And former Labour Cabinet Minister, consultant, Stuart Nash. Good morning to you, Stuart.
Good morning, mate. How are you?
Excellent.
Good morning. Arch rivals and bitter enemies, Stuart Nash and Maurice Williamson.
Maurice is from the left and Stuart's from the right.
Are you? Is there some bad blood I didn't know about? Or not?
Shocking,
No, not at
shocking.
Not at all.
I'm such a strong lefty, and he's from the right. So,
all right. Look, guys, what should we start off with? I'm just wondering, because there's so much that's gone on. I want to start with the Youth Parliament, actually, because I had two youth MPs on the program yesterday. And they were quite refreshing young men. One of them was Karen Chua's youth MP. The other one was Winston Peters' youth MP. While the Youth Parliament was on this week, there was some suggestion that, the government had tried to muzzle them, and Chris Hipkins got in on the act, and there are a whole bunch of pink-haired activist youth MPs, all from the Greens or the Maori Party or Labour.
that's
And have Did you both do the youth MP thing?
Yep.
What do you mean? Was I a youth MP?
No. Did you have a youth MP in your time in
I
Parliament?
did. I had about 3 or 4 of them. They were good young people, and I
did 9. I did 9.
Okay, you did 9, Morris.
Yep.
Okay, that'd be illegal nowadays. Can I ask you, do you think they are worthwhile things? I've got to say, as a bit of a jock at school, I'd say youth parliaments are full of kids with too many badges on their lapels who don't have an active social life. Stuart?
Look, I know Catherine Wedd's youth MP from Tukituki, and he is a fine young man. He's the head prefect of Lindisfarne. He is not one of your sort of, woke lefty guys with a whole lot of badges. He's a really cool guy. He'll probably go on to be I don't know if he'll be an MP, but he'll certainly be a leader. So, I'm a fan of this. I don't think there's any downside. If young people are engaging in politics and ethics, then, good on them. Go hard.
All right. Morris?
Yeah, we just came up with some of the most stunning people, and we've got 4 or 5 high schools in the Pakuranga electorate. So you've got Edgewater College, Pakuranga College, Maclean's, all very different, and every time we try to circulate around them, get the schools to nominate a few, and then we have a little draw out of the hat. Some of those people that came through were just fantastic. I never interfered with anything they had to say. I didn't even know what they were going to say, and in fact, I didn't think it was my business to have any say in what they had to say. So,
And look, reports. The two young guys I spoke to said reports of some new censorship on this youth parliament were absolutely rubbish. They said that was polarised spin from the lefty youth MPs.
Who would have ever thought?
I just can't imagine who would try and censor these young guys. It's just so not what it's about. So there was something, I heard the article. I think there was something going on there which was a little nefarious, but, no officials. They may provide a little bit of guidance, but there was certainly no ability or no censoring going on. So, yeah, I think that might have been misreported, mate, if I'm honest with you.
All those kids have come through schools, though, where the boards have been statutorily required to give effect to the Treaty of Waitangi. And there was a new piece of legislation before the House that Erica Stanford has introduced that would continue that requirement, that school boards would give effect to the Treaty of Waitangi. Stanford has basically gone on with Maserati Mike on ZB and said people who've got a problem with that have got a problem themselves. A whole lot of people saying, we voted for National to get rid of this rubbish. I think this is a big moment for National.
There's something you're missing here. You're missing the 6th of February, 1840, under the tree. They're sitting at the tables. They're ready to sign, and the chief say, right, not signing unless this is in the schools as well, right? And they said, really? Oh, yeah, okay, so we'll make sure it's in the schools and local government too. We've got to include that. Except they didn't write it down.
Yeah.
And so it's not written in the treaty. And we have now put the treaty into... It's just about got to be in your peanut butter for breakfast.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I have a different view on this. First of all, this incenses me. Let me give you a little bit about my background. So I wrote the business case for, helped set up, and then ran AUT University Southern Campus. And I visited every single high school in that catchment. I know what great education looks like, and I know what shit education looks like. And there is a huge difference here. Now, I don't really know Erica. She came in when I became a minister, and you don't have much interaction with these guys. But what she is doing as Minister of Education, I'll give credit where credit's due, I think is fantastic. Keep in mind she got rid of that Maori language course for teachers, which costs twice as much as every other course, and you got 60% completion. Look at what she's doing. She's stripping education back to the basics, where it's about reading, writing, and arithmetic. And if you look at what she's actually done, she's removed the treaty principles as the number one thing. She says the number one thing in schools, it's about educational attainment.
And we had Michael
success.
Johnson from the New Zealand Initiative arguing exactly that. But why leave it in there at all, Stuart?
Well, so what would you do? Keep in mind, Hipkins put this in. There are a lot of treaty references, and I heard the interview on ZB with the minister. She has acknowledged that we need to ask these questions. But if you take it out of one section, just one section, which is already there, so let's be clear, she didn't put it in. But if you take it out, then that's a very ad hoc approach. You know, she's been very clear, and the government's been very clear that Goldsmith is leading a review on this.
God, all you've got to do, Stuart, is get Grok, remove all references to the Treaty of Waitangi from all legislation that hasn't got anything to do with the Treaty of Waitangi, and Bob's your wombat.
Well, and I'm not necessarily against that, but I don't think it's that simple. And, Maurice is right. We have got to the point where this has become overwhelming, and I think it's had a chilling effect. But I think heaping a whole lot of blame on the Minister of Education for this is just wrong. I actually think if you look at what she has done as the minister by putting attainment and achievement and stripping everything back to reading, writing, and arithmetic, that is the right thing to do. If she had just stripped this out of one clause, and the other thing is...
Then why not, Stuart? And I'll put this to you, Maurice. Surely the smart thing to do was, well, get rid of it. Don't worry. Look at all the great stuff I'm doing elsewhere.
Yeah, well, let's celebrate the great stuff. Hobson's choice.
Let's get rid of the bad stuff as well, because she's messed this up communication-wise.
She's looking to do that, but let's concentrate on, I would have loved to be the Minister of Education. I'm so passionate about education, and I think what she is doing is driving educational outcomes in a way that no minister has done since Peter Fraser. I think, like I said, give credit where credit's due. But the other really big issue here that I'd be interested in Maurice's view on this, which I am really incensed about, if I'm honest with you, David Seymour completely broke the Cabinet Manual rules. The Cabinet Manual talks about collective responsibility. What that means is you have very robust discussions in Cabinet. Then once you come up with an agreement, the doors are open. You have Cabinet collective responsibility. And David has pulled up Winston Peters and a number of Labor ministers when he felt that was breached. He completely breached Cabinet confidentiality. This was
what are you talking about? What are we talking about?
When he came out and said ACT was against this, we didn't agree with this.
No, but also, but in a coalition government, Stuart, there are also some conventions about right to disagree.
Yes, and he did not invoke the right to disagree, and this was not in his coalition agreement. If he had come out and said, I'm so incensed about this, I'm going to invoke the right to disagree, agree to disagree, He did not do that. All he has done is breach the Cabinet Manual. So he has completely changed the way now that Cabinet operates. And if I was Luxon, I'd be hauling them over the coals like you haven't seen. I'm surprised that others aren't going hard against them.
Well, Luxon can't. Don't be ridiculous, Stuart. Luxon can't do that because he's not the boss. Because he'd collapse the government.
Helen
that's
Clark
why coalition
government.
Would she collapse the government?
Well, she pretty much did with Winston when he misbehaved.
Yeah, that's true. But
Seymour continues to misbehave in a way which is just outrageous.
Well, he continues to get away with it, doesn't he, Maurice?
Well. I feel like a bit of roadkill on the side of the road here. We'll quickly go back to the education thing as well. Yeah. I think there may be a little bit of smarts here, because it's embedded in so many bits and pieces that if Erica was to go through one after another taking it out, there'd be just a constant war going on. Every day it would be in the news, and you'd have all of the bloody dangling earrings coming after. I think what I'm hoping, I'm really hoping, and one day you'll be able to say, oh, you got that one. I'm hoping that Goldsmith's work will come to fruition and a whole omnibus clearance of this stuff will come through. And then we have the war 1 week, sort of, it'll be a big explosion, all of the dangling earrings will come out and say, this is dreadful, and it's over. Because if you did it...
It'll be like the World War III a couple of weeks ago, over.
And gone.
100%.
But if you did it piece by piece by piece by piece, you'll have a war every week, and then another one, and then another one. So I'm hopeful that they've decided internally, and I don't sit there, so I don't know, but my view would be don't do this 1 week after another, after another, after another. Goldsmith brings it all together as one big omnibus bill, and bang, we do it all as one.
So it's the treaty clause bunker buster is what we're waiting for, Morris.
Yeah, but Sean, the thing that Hobson's Choice, they actually were dishonest. They came out and said that Erica has inserted this. She did not insert it. In fact, she took it from a primary cause to a secondary cause. All she did was say now the primary role of the boards is to concentrate on educational attainment. So in fact, she dropped it down a level from where it once was.
Then why didn't she calmly explain that to Maserati Mike the other day? Why did she use language that incensed so many people?
Well, I think that's my argument. I think that Erica's messaging was wrong, but what she's been doing in education is fantastic. I mean, it's been brilliant. The curriculums, the books, the focus on an hour of maths and an hour of reading, everything else has been spoiled by her not getting the messaging right. It just got completely blurred in the whole thing. And I just hope the bunker buster bomb comes and we get this stuff cleared out.
Isn't it a shame that she has done all this really good stuff? Hundreds of thousands of books out. She's changed the curriculum. She has put attainment at the very top of the apex around schools. And all we talk about is one interview. I mean, is that the media? Why don't we celebrate all this really good stuff that's going on in our schools?
Oh, Stuart, you know better than anyone.
On,
you can have a great political career. You make one small mistake and she's all over.
Yeah, but
there's a wonderful joke about the Italian and sitting on the rock in Italy, but I won't tell it on the radio.
All right, guys, we're going to take a break. You're with Free Speech Fridays.